Yeah, hi Stu Davinia. I just thought this might be a bit easier to go through to send you guys, and then you can kind of have a look at it tonight. But basically, just had a good chat with Mark about the switching locations around the lighting and trying to make it simple. He did say, look, he was following the electrical design that was done, and he tried to keep it simple. But I'll just go through with what we've discussed, and then you guys can have a look at it, and then we can go from there. So obviously that's the PowerPoint layout, nothing to look at there. Um, I'll come back to that to that floor, but this is the ground floor. So basically, LED strip lights come on with a sensor. They're wired to the entry so that you can turn them off and on. It's to basically an override. The boat shed's pretty self-explanatory. Now, when you come into the entry, you've got this light in the entryway that's switched right at that location. And you do have the pendant, which is on a separate switch. Now, what Mark was saying was sometimes it's not about when would you have the pendant on or off. It's probably more about being able to turn the entry light off, because if you're sort of living in the house, you don't always want the entry light on. So hence why there's two switches, one for the pendant, one for the entry. So you come in, you turn the entry light on, it provides enough light. You can turn the pendant on if you want. Um, it's up to you, but you come through there, and then you do have these two hallway switches, which are switched to this location with the dining room switches. Now, what he's saying, the reason why those are switched to that location is if you're using the kitchen and all the kitchen lights are on, you'll see that these lights come off the kitchen light. If you decide to go to bed and you start walking up the stairs, this is the closest location to switch these hallway lights off before going up the stairs. So I guess your question, Davinia, is would you have the hallway lights connected to the entry? You could, but then when you go to bed, you then have to walk to the entry and switch them off and then walk back up the stairs. Kind of your call. Um, Kitchen's all fine, switching's fine, it all works. Into the living area. So what he's done there is you've got these two wall lights, which you guys have to think about whether you want to go ahead with them or not. But basically, these two wall lights that are switched at this location. Um, you then have these clusters of lights all on one switch, which are dimmable. So that's the way Mark's priced, and that's the way I think is best. And I'm pretty sure that's the way you're thinking, Davinia, which is good. Then you've got the fan, which is on its own its own switch, with a little wheel to control the speed. And then in the same location, you've got quite a few other switches, and I'll possibly talk about maybe we can hide them on the side of the fireplace so they're not all visible. But one switch for the exterior wall-mounted lights. You've got one switch for a provision for Luvatech lighting and heating. And we are also thinking about putting the switch in that location, which which is an override for the sensors of the boat shed light. So the boat shed light, um, it'll be on a sensor, but if you ever want to turn it, if you want to override the sensor, the switch will be in this location. So this area here is kind of all the living room lighting, the wall lights in the living room, as well as the Luvatech stuff, the wall-mounted exterior lights, as well as the sensor override for the boat shed. So I think that all kind of works really well. Now the garage, you come through the garage. These lights are on a sensor, so it picks you up, gives you light. You get to the laundry, you open the door. Now, one thing to think about is when you get to this laundry door and you open the door, the switches are only in this location. So you'll have to walk through with no light, but I think you'll get enough light flooding from these lights coming through the door that it will allow you to get to this point to then switch the lights on. So I think that works pretty well. Yeah, that's kind of the lighting. So just to think about whether you want the pendant on its own switch or not, and whether you want these hallway lights maybe clumped in with the entry or as per what's been drawn. So that's the ground floor. The upper floor, I'll just remove some of these notes. Actually, I won't. I'll leave them there. So, master bedroom, pretty simple. 4 lights. They get switched from this location as well as next to the bed with the wall lights. Now, there's only a two-way on this side of the bed. So at night, whoever's on this side will flick these off and will flick all these lights off. Um, at this location too, there's a possibility of adding one more switch for the Econo heat panel, or my suggestion would be to have the switch near the Econo heat panel, maybe hidden behind it, slightly behind it. So because you're not really going to turn that on and off, you're going to use there's an app that you turn it on, or you just go to where the heater is and you flick the switch. I don't think having another switch over here would be the answer, but it's your option. Mark did suggest either or. Um, Wardrobe lights, pretty simple. Door slides open, light, bang, bang. That's fine. This exterior light's also controlled from this side. So I think that's the logical spot to put it. Because you've got a big door in there. I don't think there's any wall space to put it on there. Now, I'll just hide that note. Now, the ensuite's fine. The bedroom 3 is all good. There's a two-way there because if you do put a mezzanine structure in there, you've got a two-way switch. This bedroom's fine. Bathroom's fine. The hallway lights, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 lights which are on a two-way switch to that point there. So I guess if you're coming up, you switch them on, you kind of walk around, and then you have the ability to then switch those two ways off there. So that could be something that you delete. I think just having the switches on at this location for the hallway lights, because if you turn the lights on and you're walking through this way, if you're about in that location, you then have to decide, well, do you go this way or do you come down to turn them off? So I think it's much of a muchness, really. So that could be something that you get rid of, is the two ways in the hallway. Now, the other two way is not for the guest playroom, is for the actual pendant light above the stairs. So that kind of leads into what I was saying before on the ground floor. If you do have that pendant on its own switch, whether you just decide to get rid of this two-way and just go, you know what, if we turn the pendant on downstairs and it's on, then it's on. If we have to turn it off, we go downstairs, we turn it off. Or you decide you keep this two-way in, and then you switch it on downstairs, and if you're going to bed at night, you go, okay, well, the pendant's still on, switch that off. So the guest playroom, 3 lights. There's no two-way in the guest playroom. I was wrong about that. There's no two-way. It's just switch to that location there, nice and simple. Then when you come through this door, Mark's got this little light in here, which is on his own switch, and is also connected via two-way to the left-hand side of the bed. So you come on, you turn the light on. It gives you enough light to then walk through, turn the other bedroom lights on. Then at night when you're going to bed, you realize, oh crap, I haven't turned that light off. You switch it off from this location. The only other option is that when you come in through the door, you flick this switch on for this light, all the bedroom lights light up. And then you have the ability to turn them off. So you're getting rid of one switching location, really. I think leave it as it is, but it's pretty simple. I mean, you come in there, you switch the light on, it gives you one light, then you walk through. It's just a case of, when would you ever need just this light on and not the rest? I think this light would come on with all these master bedroom lights. And that is it for the lighting. I think that's pretty good. And then obviously you got the stair tread lights, which are on the sensor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3. And then there's another one there. 4, 5 sensors. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sensors. Could drop down to 4, but Mark said, for the sake of $120 to have another sensor that doesn't pick up any dead spots is worth it. But look, we could have a look at that. There's no problem with that. And that is about it. So yeah, if you guys can have a look tonight, I've asked Mark if we can do a walk around on site on Friday. Now, Friday he can only do 8 a.m. or 1 p.m. I would like to do the 8 a.m. just so I can get on the road, but if it's a bit hard for you, Davinia, I'm happy to stick around until 1 p.m. and then do the walk around. And he is booked in for Monday, the 14th to start. So if we can kind of have a look tonight, tomorrow, any questions, and then Friday, once after Friday, we give him the go ahead. Monday's into it. All right, cheers, guys. Hopefully that helps. Cheers.